Hello and welcome to Community Crafting with your public library. Today's craft is folded page book art, and I've got some samples of what to do and what not to do. This is the ultimate for today's craft. This is what you're going to do, which is the mermaid, and we've got included in your kit, if you were able to get one, is the pattern, which is several pages, a book, binder clips, rubber bands, a ruler in centimeters, and a pencil. You may or may not have to sharpen it. You do want a rather finely pointed pencil. So let's move this off to the side. And there is a way, let me go back. There's a way with this, you'll see it's not centered. It doesn't have to be centered. Some people like to center them. There's a bit of math involved in centering it, and we'll go over that in more depth. It's basic math, so don't be too terrified. I have another sample of one that is centered. It's a different pattern, but the same idea, same concept. And there's a sample of what not to do. So this is adequate number of pages, proper size of book, and all the math to center it within the covers. So there's that. Now, finding the center does take some math. And for the one that you did just see, the seahorse, we have the total number of pages is 388. And then you have to count the non-numbered, which come at the end. You know, they're just blank or they're index or whatever they may be, but they are not the physically numbered pages in the book. So you count what's in the front and what's in the back. And then you have your pattern, which tells you the total number of folds. And this sheet will be in your kit, as I stated earlier. Also, we're going to post it along with the pattern and instructions for attachments with the video, so that you don't have to try and pause or scribble this down real quick. But the basic math is your total number of pages, and you take that by half because the pages are numbered front and back. So you need the physical count, the physical page, not the front and back count, which gives you this number. Then you take that number minus the total number of folds. That gives you your total excess pages. Then you add your non-numbered pages together. You take this from previous of your excess pages plus the non-numbered. You get this number, you divide it by 2 so that you have half in the front and half in the back. And then you count each individual page, 21, and then you'll rubber band it together like this. You'll rubber band the 21 pages. So you'll put the rubber band over there, and you'll do the same in the back. And then you can begin folding. All right, so that was a very quick version of finding the center. But again, this will be in your kit, providing you were able to secure one. Otherwise, you can print it from the attachments along with the video that are posted with the video, or you can pause the video and jot it down. So we're going to move this out of the way. For today, I'm not actually going to physically count it. Those pages, we're just going to go with it. So it's going to be more skewed like our final version. All right, so we're just going to start with a page and start how to fold. So with the instructions, if this is your book and this is the way you would read it because it's right side up. With the instructions, you want the front cover of the book face down on the table, opening toward you, spine is away from you, and then you're going to need your centimeter ruler, which will be included in your kit. Move these out of the way slightly. Now, if you have a ruler, that's fine as long as it has centimeter markings. This is just one that was easily visible, and it's paper, so it's very forgiving. With the pattern, you're going to go to page 1, mark 1, mark 2, and you may say, well, there's only a centimeter difference in between, and how's that going to make any difference? But in the overall pattern, you'll see it. So for page 1, which I said we're going to start with just the single page, we're not going to try and center this one. So it's 13.9, so you find 13 and 9, and you just make a light mark. The next mark is 14. All right, so we did that. We're going to put the ruler down, and now the fold is not all that scientific, but as best you can, you want a right angle. Some of them, like this first one, is not going to be at a right angle, but the point of the fold needs to be as close to that mark that you made as possible. So as best we can, we're going to try and do this. All right. And again, this one isn't at a right angle, but the second one should be because it's short enough. So we're going to bring this over and align it with the mark. And if you have a craft stick, that may help you in folding. Now, the best suggestion I can give you at this point is as you make your folds, draw a line through the ones you've already made. Otherwise, as you get farther along, some of the folds are the same measurement and you may get lost in them. Did I do 3 or did I do 5? I don't know. Then you got to try and figure out with your ruler how many there were, and it just gets to be a little confusing. So after you make your folds, I would draw the line, a light line through it so you know you've done it. And this is where either a rubber band or a binder clip will come in handy to hold what's completed out of your way so that you can make your next fold. So as you see on the pattern, you're just going to keep going. So you're going to take your measurement and hold it. And this one is virtually the same as 13.9 and then 14.1. You're going to go again and the points as best you can, and you do still want to try and make as right of a corner as you can. Some of them will cooperate, some of them won't. And back here you'll see this one did what I was figuring it was going to do. It's a little long and it's in the crease. You can go ahead and fold that up so that you can tuck this with this other page. Okay, make sure you draw your line so you know you've done it. Now some of this, when you get more and more pages, you may have to switch to the binder clip because the rubber band isn't big enough to hold them all. But we're going to keep going. We're going to do a few more just for fun. Some people find this very therapeutic. It's almost like working a puzzle. Some people find it boring. Some people, it's almost a quiet meditation. And if there are those instances where you want to make several marks and then go back and fold the page, that's fine as long as you don't get confused as to where you stopped and where, you know, did I do this one, did I not? So again, you want to mark the pattern so you know for sure which one you did or did not do. So there's that. And we're going to keep going. 1393. Some of these folds, you'll notice it gets very close to the edge of the page. And again, you just do your best to make the fold. If it's not perfect, it's fine, but you just want to make sure, because as you'll see in this sample, some of the folds here at the bottom, it's barely a corner that's turned, and that can be challenging. But again, you just do what you can. If you can get it to fold, great. If not, it is what it is. So we're just going to continue on, and you'll notice in that sample I had that it was colored. You can use paint, you can use markers, but it's only essentially the edge of the page that you're coloring if you choose to. 3. And some people do it just because sometimes the pattern, it kind of messes with your eye, if you will, where you can see it, but you really can't, and they just want to define it a little bit more. So it's entirely up to personal preference. You want it to be colorful, paint it, use a marker. But you don't have to. As you saw with the seahorse, that was not colored. All right, so we're just going to keep going through the pattern. Now this one has 200 folds until we get to that last fold, and then through the magic of video, it'll be done. And again, through the magic of video, this is our finished mermaid. And if yours looks something like this, fantastic. If not, you can always go back and refold the page or the corner or however it needs to be adjusted. This one you'll also notice is upside down because I didn't orientate the book properly to begin with. So it's not a huge deal if it isn't, unless you're bothered by that, and then you could unfold it and refold it, or just select another book. But this is hopefully something that resembles your finished product. Now I'm going to bring back the seahorse to show you the unpainted, and I know it's a different pattern, but it does give you an idea of centered, unpainted, not centered, painted. And this is also right side up, where this one is essentially upside down. So we could go back and paint this, we may, but for this project in this video, we are not, because we have this one that is painted. I'm gonna move this out of the way. I'll put this here. And for those of you who are wondering what happens if you select a book and it's too short and it doesn't have enough pages. Well, I happen to have a sample of that because I did just that. I selected a book. I thought, oh, the pages are nice and thick. They'll hold the folds nicely. I can make this work. Well, it's the seahorse pattern, which is still in view, but as you can see, it's shorter and there weren't enough pages. And I naively thought by taking half of the measurements in the pattern that I could just shrink it and it would fit. And in theory, it did to a certain point, but then I ran out of pages. So this is what not to do. You could take a book that's not as high or tall and cut the measurements in half and fold accordingly, but you still have to make sure that you have the proper number of pages. So, lesson learned, if you're ambitious and you want to do a little bit more math, just cut the measurements in half, but total number of pages for folds still needs to be there. So hopefully this session of community crafting folded page book art was informative and relatively easy to understand. Once you've completed one, other patterns, you see them and you're like, oh, I can do that. So hopefully it inspires you to go out and fold some book pages and see what art you can create. At the end of this video, we will have samples of other crafting books that are available in the library for checkout purposes. You're welcome to go visit our online catalog or come into the building and look. I appreciate your attention and your viewing, and hopefully you'll join us next month for that particular craft when it's available. Thank you.